tomatoes today. First you want to wash your tomatoes, and then once you get them washed pretty good, you want to cut the bad spots out. This one had some hail damage. It's kind of superficial, it won't matter that much, so we won't bother that because it'll come off when we skin it. But you got to take the core out. And like this one, the hail got that one real good, so we're going to go ahead, and that's not superficial, so we're just going to go ahead and cut a big part of that tomato out. You can have various ripenesses. You can have real ripe or a little bit green. The green ones don't peel quite as easy. Then you take it over your cleaned, decored, bad spots cut out tomatoes. You bring them over here to boiling water, and you set them in the boiling water. So just long enough for the skins to start to peel. They'll wrinkle and pull back, so it'll be really easy to skin. You just let them sit there for a couple seconds and it should start to crack the skins. You can see that one's starting to pull back, so it'll be easy to peel later on. Usually the green ones aren't as easy to peel, so. And after you get those out of your hot water, and you get a nice pan full, and you let this boil or simmer on low, and then you take one of these ones that you've already got the wrinkles off of and get your compost bowl. And pull the skins off. And if there's any leftover bad spots, you can cut them off now. Then you cut it into little pieces into the pan, and then you'll start to simmer it. If you like small chunk tomato, you don't want to have real big chunks, you might want to cut them a little bit smaller. We don't mind, but see how those peels slide right off, and you just cut it up and set it to boil. We'll have it boiling for at least 5 minutes, but it'll take quite a while before it ever starts to boil. So, and then we'll proceed with the canning process a little bit later. Well, we've got it simmered down. We've been boiling it for about 30 minutes. Like I said, you want to do it a minimum of 5 minutes. But if you want it to cook down more, the tomatoes will be more tender and it's a lot nicer. And it's also better to, I feel it's better to boil it for at least 20 minutes. You want to stir it pretty often so it doesn't scorch on the bottom. When you get ready, you've got a pan of water here that's not quite boiling, but it's really hot. You put your lids in there with the bands, and if you notice the bands are so you can reuse the bands, but you can't reuse the lids. But when they get too rusty, you gotta toss them because they won't screw on very well. But you put several of those in there to heat them up. Helps sterilize them, and it also helps it to go on the jar so it'll seal better. You get yourself a jar that's heated to 215 degrees out of the oven, nice and clean. You always want to check the rims to make sure there's no chips or something before you put it in the oven. Then you get a canning funnel and you use your canning funnel to... I've got a 16-quart pan, and you need about a teaspoon of salt, plain salt, for every quart. So I put in the right amount of salt. I put in 5 tablespoons because it's a 16-quart pan and we've got about 14 or 15 quarts in there. And just ladle it to within about a ½ inch of the top here. And you want to keep this pretty close to boiling the whole time. You're fill in the jars so they seal real nice. That one's just a tad bit full. If you get it too full, it'll have a hard time sucking the lid down because you won't get the right amount of vacuum. So if I get it too full, I'll get a little bit out of there. I want about 3/8 of an inch to half an inch. Get your lid out of there. And you want to wipe the rim with a clean, damp rag. And that same clean, damp rag, you can hold the jar while you're tightening the lid. They are hot, so you want to do it kind of quick. And then you set it on a towel so that it doesn't get cracked from hitting a cold surface.